And welcome back to Survivor Hot Takes, the Survivor 41 finale. Not recap, just more of a I hate the
Commentary.
internet type people
Yeah.
thing. Joined once again by Emily. Emily, Survivor 41 finale hot take. Let's go right
I,
into it.
First of all, Andrew, I would like to say that I am woman enough to admit that I was wrong. Okay, Erica was the winner. That's the one person I told you I didn't think was going to win. I'm sorry. But because of that, I really need to say that I feel my hot take is that Survivor has to learn how to edit women winners better because Erica didn't have a freaking pulse until the start of the merge, and that really like rattles my bones because they made a case for pretty much everyone else but her, and that I'm steamed about it. Steamed.
Yeah, and I would agree. And see, I honestly don't even think that's much of a hot take at this point because it does
Oh,
seem
okay,
like
so
you're
just me.
in.
That's fine.
No. It does seem like you're in the majority with that. I do feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
agree with you that it's not necessarily certain people, the smart ones, understand that it's not necessarily the fact that she won. It was just the fact that she wasn't portrayed a
Yeah.
certain way. Now there are others which I'll talk about later. I was trying to avoid talking about these people, but we'll get to them later. But I agree that I do think that she played a good game, good to great game. I mean,
I
shit, she
agree.
won. But I do think we could have been shown a lot more of it earlier than when we were shown.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and
Honestly, like to me, I understand like Christian. I see your comment. I totally agree with you. It was a decoy winners at it. I totally agree. I think that honestly, the big thing is like they played it the same way that we probably would have played it if we were in Survivor with them. You know, like
yeah,
not seeing all the little moves that she was doing, all the behind the scenes until she kind of came around from the back and pled her case, and that is really admirable, and I get that. But like as viewers, we have to see at least like the bend and the break and then the manifestation of a winner. Like that's what I need to see in order for me to be able to root for you in the slightest degree, you know?
yeah, and I'm the people that I was with. It was very Deshaun, Erica heavy,
Yeah.
fans. So
Oh,
everyone
Erica
kind of
heavy
knew that
too.
Xander wasn't going to win. And I would have like if Deshaun had won, I would not have been like, oh man, he deserved it over Erica. And same thing with Erica. Like, I don't think that she just like blew out anyone else. I mean, she did in terms of the votes, but
Yeah.
I think what the frustrating part is, and I guess we can just get right into it, is I hate using this phrase because it makes me sound like such a snob, but
Be a
the
snob.
casual
We're
fans
super fans. Be a snob. Own
the,
it.
the casual fans that take everything at face value and only go based off of what they're shown and are like, Xander's the most robbed player in the history of the show. This season is now one of the worst ever because Xander didn't win, and I'm done with Survivor now, blah, blah,
Oh
blah.
yeah.
So
And
you're
I've seen
done
a lot of
now?
that. Yeah.
Island of the Idols happened and you weren't done then, but now you're done?
That should have
Interesting.
been it if that was it for you ever. You know, it's
You guys are
insane.
dying on the Xander Hill. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, Xander's cool people, but there have been many great zero vote third place finalists. My Survivor crush, Hannah Shapiro, got 0 votes,
She did
but
get
she's
0
amazing.
votes. Yeah.
Angelina from David vs. Goliath, 0 votes. Great player. So it's not this uproar, this uproar that Xander lost. Oh, and he only lost because he was a white male at the wrong time in history. It's
In
like,
with Survivor history.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
right.
if it was him, Heather and Deshaun, I think Deshaun would have won, but I think Xander would have gotten votes.
I think it would have been really tough. I think that honestly, like Xander's weakness is just his social awareness, you know, just in general.
You remember that
And I
question?
think,
You
well,
don't?
yeah,
Are you socially aware?
he just dropped the ball. And like that, honest, I think that he had a pathway to win and it was clear, but I think that he wasn't able to rationalize all of his decision making in order to really be able to facilitate and execute a solid win.
Yes.
So that to me was my thing with Xander. I think that he was a very deserving winner if he were to win. But the challenge was, you know, understanding he didn't think that Erica had any chance in hell to win, you know, and that was his biggest weakness
Yeah,
is
he didn't.
underestimating.
He could not read that jury at all. And I think Shan had.
Yeah,
Yeah, Shan had her little thing where it's like, oh, it's a weird
yeah.
bad read. Um,
I I have a question for you as well about Shan because
yeah,
Shan she kind of came out as like a big. I thought that she was going to have a much more present spot in jury. You know, I think that like there were a few outstanding jury members. Like Evie definitely was a huge out. She was very, very outspoken. Leanna, she had a lot to say too, and Shan kind of stayed in the corner for a little bit for me. You know, what I mean, except she had one moment, and that's whenever she like dragged Deshawn. You know, like near the end. Now, what were your thoughts on how she executed that with Deshawn? Do you think that was just like an honest question? Do you think that she
honestly
make sure he did win?
No, I think it was. I think that she really wanted to see how he felt. I think she wanted to see how he would answer the question under pressure, and I do think that he answered. Well, I'm sitting at the bar watching this, and I'm like nodding my head as he answers. Like, all right, you're saying the right things. He's like, yeah, I would never like. You can. I don't care if I get third place. I would never sell out my my people for that. Blah blah blah. I'm like, yes, he's right, and I think that people probably bought it. I still think it was true, but I think she was just trying to see, one, how he would answer the question, and two, here's a big question: how are you going to react under pressure? And I think he did both very well. I think she was always going to vote for Erica, so she probably just did that, as a FU.
Yeah,
but
one last bone. Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, for sure.
So, do you think that everyone going in planned on voting for Erica, or do you think that she may have swayed people?
I think I've my challenge again, like as the viewer, is like it's really hard for me to be able to see that path that Erica paved to be able to make it, just in terms of relationships. I think that the jury did a really great job of like separating those personal relationships for the most part with just like strategic gameplay. So that was a big thing for me. I think that Ricard probably did a lot of the finagling behind the scenes. I don't even know how much they're really allowed to say at Ponderosa, but I think that it's very likely.
A fair amount, actually.
Like, come on, So I think that Ricard being there actually really helped her out, because a lot of people didn't feel like they knew her well enough to know if she deserved to vote or not. And then that, coupled with Heather coming in to reinforce that, is really important,
Yeah, I agree. And I do think that in this case, I feel like most people's minds were relatively made up.
Yeah.
I think I did love the moment with Ricard and Xander where he says, oh, I still want you to be Uncle Xander if you're down for it, blah, blah, blah. This has nothing to do with that. And I thought that was a very sweet moment. And I hope that they're cool still. Only because, as we've seen in a lot of other seasons, people take a lot of things that happen here personally.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say about this cast is, for the most part, it seemed like they understood that it was a game. They would get annoyed and or pissed off, but it never seemed like they were going to hold any type of long-term grudge against the others.
That's what I agree with you for the most part. I think that the only person that I think is kind of that doesn't relate with that at all would be Deshawn. I don't know if you saw that the same way that I saw that, but the way that he shut down during like their like pretend reunion at the very end, like I've never seen Deshawn like that. I think his demeanor completely switched. Am I wrong?
No. So this is my whole thing with the reunion. First of all, I hope they never do that again. I know they're probably going to do it.
I loved it.
I loved it too, except for the fact that you had Erica, who's probably in shock that she just won $1 million.
True.
But you also have Deshawn and Xander, who just lost $1 million and had just gotten berated for, we're only shown 15, 20 minutes of it, but probably a couple hours of them being berated with stuff. And now I have to sit here with these people and pretend like none of this just happened, and I just lost $1 million. And now I have Jeff.
Yeah, no, I feel you. But like Xander handled it like a great, like the graceful king that he is. I was like, yes.
The Rob king that he is.
Oh my gosh. When he comes back, I'm gonna be rooting for him so hard, But I think he was just sitting there like owning it, But Deshawn was just done. Do you think it was just because it was the heat of the moment? Do you think
I think it was. I think that, I don't think they will release what happened when they got back to Ponderosa because I think they've only done that 2 seasons. But I can imagine that by the time they got back, that he was a little bit better.
Calmer.
Some people just react to losing differently. Me coaching, like sometimes I'll like shut down after a loss because it's like, man, we should have won. I'm depressed, blah, blah, blah. Other times like, wow, that was a good game. I hope we play them again, this, that, and the other. So I think Deshawn probably thought that he had this one in the bag, and losing and the way that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know who voted for him yet? Do you think
Danny.
it was
Danny voted for him.
Danny? Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I assumed it was, and then I looked it up, and it was because I didn't see like anyone else. Heather was not voting for him. Shan probably was not voting for him, and the list goes on. I thought Nasir maybe would have thrown him or Xander a bone, but no, Nasir's he's so wholesome.
I agree with you, and like, honestly, I'm amazed still that like Xander's entire former tribe, the Yasa tribe, like no one voted for him, even knowing like I mean he had a lot of big key pivotal moves and just like the shapement of who made it to the end. And like he didn't get one from Tiff, he didn't get one from Leanna or from Evie. Like that to me blew my mind, you know?
And that should knock home the point that Erica must have been doing something, but also should remove this narrative that Xander's some like all-time great social player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if he was, he would have at least gotten
100%.
One of his former tribe mates to vote for him. It's kind of like, and I'll go another route. One of my favorite winners of all time is Vecepia. And one of my things that I always like to talk about with Vecepia is at Final Tribal, it's her versus Nalia, but there are, I think by my count, there were 6 former Rotu and Sean. Am I right? I'm pretty sure I'm right. I think it was just her and Sean from the old Mararamu tribe and 6 Rotu people. Realistically, an old Survivor, she should have lost 6-1, probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She wins 4-3, which means she was able to swing over 3 people that had spent a lot of time with Nalia because she was a better social player. Like, that's all it is. It's a social strategic game, not a strategic social game.
Right, 100%. I think that, like, Vecepia is also very much like a testament to how Erica played the game, too. I think that her relationships, like she said, I think that I really reflect a lot on, like, with Survivor, what does it mean to survive? You know, what are the things that we can do? Do we work within our wheelhouse like Erica did, or do we try to push ourselves outside of our wheelhouse? And I think that Erica really executed an old school with a new flair type of game that really was something that fell under the radar for even the producers, you know? And I think it's a very, very captivating performance, but I think that's kind of what Vecepia really did too. She was really good at like taking notes on specific people, getting to know specific people on a very individual basis. And that's really what propelled her to the end, as well as Erica. That underestimation of that individual contact.
Yeah, and it's, you know, a lot of the most recent winners, you know, with the exception of like Tony or I don't know, I think might just be Tony, but like you look at, or maybe I'll throw Nicholas
Underwood.
But like you look at Tommy, you look at Chris Underwood, you look at Jeremy, you look at a lot of these people where like, yes, they had some type of strategy, cool. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, they made connections with people that in Jeremy's season that Spencer did not make. You know, they made these connections that, you know, even if they didn't have that strategic aspect to their game, I feel like they probably, Michelle Fitzgerald, another example of someone that was, in my opinion, one of the greatest social winners of all time. Yeah. And, you know, at the time, everyone got pissed off that she won. It's like, oh, what did she really do? I'm like, going back to your question, what does it mean to survive? I think it depends on the season. So in this season, what it meant to survive is being the best social player. In other seasons, and Winners at War, it depended on who was the best strategic person, which is why Tony won. So I think it depends on the jury that you're talking to. But the casuals only see it as whoever the best strategic person should win 100% of the time. And if they don't, then this person was clearly robbed because they were white or male, even though we only get white male winners.
And always, and who the producers lead us to believe is the winner. Like that yes. To me, like I know that I've already harped on this a little bit, and I don't want that to take up like the entire time, you know. But it is really frustrating because they showed so many glows, you know, for Xander, for Deshawn, even like. Throw freaking Heather in there. You know what I mean? Like she had a few things where she was really struggling, but they made it look very heroic, as one of my lovely best friends brought out, you know, and like they gave people cases from the start to the end. Erica didn't have a freaking case until she banged that hourglass, which was something that she didn't even want to do in the first place, you know?
Yeah, and it's not like that was a big move because everyone in that situation
would
would
have
have
freaking
broken
done it.
the hourglass.
Like, throw me 2 hammers, Jeff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm down. You know what I mean? But like that's the frustrating thing as a viewer is because I want to, like, even if it's nothing crazy, because obviously she was in a position where she didn't have to worry about voting, but like she mentioned how she had a breakdown at the very beginning, and like they didn't record that. Like they mentioned like so many little things, just little moments that would have really helped to cultivate like a strong holistic winner that I would have been down for, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I'm hoping I hope the cesspool on Reddit and Twitter now. I'm hoping they start to calm down just a little bit because the first couple of days were rough being on there. Like these people were pissed, as if Satan himself had come and won Survivor, when instead it was this Erica from Canada. You know, nice Erica from Canada.
Yeah.
And I know I keep harping on this, but the amount of people that keep bringing up, oh yeah, it's because he was a white male, he had no chance. It's like that's probably not true. Like I do feel like if that were the case, Deshawn probably still would. I probably feel like Deshawn would have won. Like I understand that Erica's a POC, but I feel like if people are really playing the race game, Deshawn wins.
And then that's exactly what Shan was sharing at first. Like, I really wanted to bring this home for like for the Black folk, especially after like the year that we had in 2020, you know? And even with that, like weighing over their shoulders, they still felt that Erica was the best player in this specific game, you know? So if they really wanted to play it that way, they would have all voted for Deshawn and put everything else under the rug. But in reality, Erica played the best individual game that really resonated with most of the jury.
Yes. So fun question. If you were sitting there, would you have voted for her?
That's a wonderful question.
Just based off the knowledge that you saw on the show, because obviously we don't know everything, but
I think it's a good question. Deshawn wouldn't have gotten my vote because I just think that the elements got to him at the end, and he just really self-destructed, and like that's not on him. It was just a very, very hard season. It would have been between Xander and Erica for me. And I hate to be like one of those people. I probably honestly would have voted for Xander, but I just think it's because of like how I saw his sportsmanship at the end. I'm happy that Erica won, but like at the end of the day, like I saw a lot of his accomplishments more, and I resonated with how he interacted in his social game a lot more than I did with Erica's, because Erica just kind of seemed a little bit to me more sectioned off with herself and with Heather, you know.
Okay, so going based off of that, and I don't know how it took me 18 minutes to get to this. Very dumb move not having Erica go against Deshawn at firemaking, right?
Yo, yeah, what's up? Well, okay, I understand what what Xander was saying, you know, because
yes, I do too. I see it.
She won, like that would bring me over, but like honestly, like Heather is there is no better goat than Heather. Like, just drag her along and then let them both battle it out. Like, there's no reason why you couldn't have put Heather with you for that. No one would have voted for her. At least I don't think so, but maybe I'm wrong because I didn't think Erica was going to win either. What do I know?
Yeah, well, I mean, if let's say Deshawn goes with Erica, let's say Deshawn wins.
Okay.
I feel like it's close between Deshawn and Xander.
Yeah.
Deshawn maybe wins by a vote.
Yeah.
But Xander definitely gets votes. If it's Erica, Heather, and Xander, I honestly feel like Erica wins unanimously.
Erica, Heather, and Xander?
Yeah, if it was Erica, Heather, and Xander, I feel like Erica would have won unanimously.
I think so too, but the only reason why I think that is I think that would probably be the case, and I think that it's just because of Deshawn and Danny's relationship. Their relationship was just so strong that it couldn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think that Danny was just voting for Deshawn, do you think that Danny knew that Deshawn's going to lose and this gave him the vote?
I think that he wanted to make sure that he helped. Like they were just like they were like brothers from the very end. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that makes the most sense. So I think that's kind of how I would have that's how I'd envision it. But I think that the other thing is if you kind of spiral it off, like Erica and Heather played very similar games because they were basically a unit. You know, I mean, of course,
Yeah.
Heather was the mastermind, but I think it might have would have separated like and scattered the votes a little bit more. I don't exactly know where they would have gone in particular, but I think it would have kind of broken it up and maybe given Deshaun a little bit of an edge.
I try not to do fantasy booking too much because then my head started. Oh, well, what if Abraham was at the end? What if he?
Right.
So overall, with the season, now the season is done. All of our winner picks that we've picked get voted out or lose at the end. How did it feel having this season now that it's done? How? First of all, where would you rank this? Would it be top tier, mid tier? Do you think it's the worst season of all time?
No, absolutely not. There were a few times where I literally was jumping up, alone, like with my box of wine and my pizza, like on my couch and like just screaming, like 4 p.m. whenever I have to watch the rerun. But like, I think that it had a lot of potential and I really, really loved all the twists. I think that I know that you and I differ on that and that you think that it should be a little bit more bare bones. I really like the concept of adaptation, just kind of being able to throw whatever is just right in your path, just learn how to adapt. I would say because of a few of the edits and a few of the twists, like not knowing that Nasir had the idol and little things like that.
Still my favorite moment of the season.
Oh, I was tweeting so hard. I was losing my mind. I think that I'd probably put it in the top 15. I think that it was a very good season. It was a season that a lot of people were able to grip onto. What about you?
I'll probably put it in my top 25. Okay. But it's nowhere close to the bottom. My bottom ones will always be Thailand, Island of the Idols, and Worlds Apart. So nowhere near those. But I do think that because we got to know a lot of the characters, except for the winner for some reason, we got introduced to a couple of twists that I did end up enjoying. And the fact that it was the nostalgia thing will always be there for me. Not the nostalgia part, the aspect of we didn't have Survivor for so long that when it came back, unless this season is just a complete dumpster fire, I'm always going to love it. And I think that it accomplished that. It wasn't a dumpster fire. I got to know a lot of the players, and I enjoyed a lot of them. I want a lot of them to come back. I want a lot of them to come back. I do think that some of the twists did drag it down. I do think that Jeff breaking the fourth wall every now and then, it depended on the situation. I loved when he went back and got the advantage that Xander didn't get.
Yeah.
But I think the top to bottom, the characters on the show on this season is what saves it. And I think the
casting was brilliant. I agree with you.
There are certain people that disagree with us on that aspect, and they think it was a shit cast.
Oh, they're wrong. I have words about that. I was rooting for all of them. They were so good. We have another question over here too, because I want to hear your opinion on this, because Kim has a fabulous question.
Yes.
She said, who would you want to see come back for another season? If Ricard came back, do you think he would have a chance to win?
So let's say, let's do 3 people.
Top 3?
If we have to pick 3 people to come back, I think Ricard is 1, Shan is 2, and
taking a look at my list.
Maybe no, Heather. I'm fine.
Don't you ever say this.
I think that Shan and Ricard are the 2 definites.
Yeah.
And I'll get to the second part of that question in a second. But if I had to pick a third person, I'd probably say Erica, because she won. Now, do I think that Ricard has a good chance at winning? Yes. I think that, and we didn't touch on this, but that whole moment where Jeff says, a lot of the greatest players, Cirie, have never won the game. I think that is Ricard. I think that Ricard was a great player this season. I think that it was so confusing the last couple of weeks and watching all these fools not vote him out, and Deshaun sitting there telling you, why are we not voting him out? So when Ricard finally goes, we'll get to that aspect in a second, because I do want to talk about that. When Ricard finally goes, it's like, okay, there goes probably the best player of the season.
Absolutely.
And I do think that if he came back, he would have a pretty big target on his back. So let's say they do season 44 is something that is all returning players from season 35 until 43.
Mm-hmm.
So healers, hustlers, all the way to whatever season 42, 43 is going to be.
Yeah.
Let's say you bring 20 people back from those seasons. And let's say Ricard's on that season. I think that up to right now, and I don't have everybody in front of me right now, but I feel like Ricard is probably top 3 best non-winners of those seasons and that gap. I would put Dom up there. And I would put probably like Mike White up there. So I feel like Ricard will come in with the target on his back, but all he has to do is do what Tony did in Winners at War, and just chill. Don't do any, don't try to make any big moves. And for now, wait till the merge happens, peek your head out, make a move.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of what his strategy was. I think that honestly, he did use Shan as a target for or as a shield, I guess is a better word. Like for the majority of the season, which was fantastic for him. I just think that if he just waited, and I understand they were at a turmoil, it was 4-4 and they had that one swing vote, If he just waited 1 or 2 more, before he took Shan out, I think that would have been that would have saved his game, I
actually like the way he played it, because the only reason I'll say that is because he never became until the very end. He never became a target after that, even though he was the clear target.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like it shows on TV. He has a very likable personality.
Yeah,
and he's very honest. What him and Shane are telling each other, hey, probably going to go against each other at some point.
Yeah,
he's
the way they work Genie, flawless, chef's kiss.
Yes,
that's what I want to see in the next time he comes back. I just want to see more of that manipulation.
Yes, now that the season is
coming back too.
I love Nasir. He's so wholesome. If they had a wholesome season,
he's too wholesome.
He'd be my winner pick. I will say that, and I keep touching on this, but Ricard, he had all 3 aspects of the game down. He was a physical threat, obviously. He was a social threat because everyone loved him. People are picking him as the winner preseason. Everyone was picking him as the winner preseason. That says something. And strategically, him and Shan were like this, and after Shan leaves, you see it didn't bite him in the ass too much because he made it pretty far, without her. So I will say that, shoot, and I said I was going to touch back on something, and I already forgot what it was.
That's okay. You're doing great.
It had something to do with someone dropping the ball with Ricard. Oh, Xander. Our boy Xander. It always comes back to Xander. What you don't do is put in the biggest threat's head that you might save them with an idol and have them convinced that that's probably going to happen, and then give this big spiel as you go to play the idol, only for you to not play the idol on him.
I think that his error, to become the winner was twofold. I think it was misleading someone who you're dumping onto the jury by saying, hey, maybe I'll give that to you, which also kind of plants an idea in our head, which I think is probably why they included it. Maybe Ricard has some hope, whatever. I think it was that, and it's also just the lack of social awareness as to how he's able to read the jury. He shouldn't be focusing on the jury at all, honestly. He should be focusing on his own intuition and his own relationships, and then maybe counting how the jury may perceive this, and being able to assume a few different possibilities as opposed to just the one that he was 100% certain on.
Yeah, I thought that was. I was sitting in the bar watching this, and I'm screaming at the TV very loudly, a lot of expletives, but basically, don't you MF and do this, you POS, I hate you. I don't actually hate Xander, but in the moment I'm like, don't do this. What are you doing? Because I thought he was actually going to play the idol.
Right.
And then he does this whole song and dance, and I'm like, that's even worse. Because now I know he's not going to play it, and he's screwed. And that's another thing where it's like people are sitting here saying, "Oh, Xander had full control of the game and this, that, and the other." It's like, did he? Because
yeah, I feel what you're saying. Here's a better question. Okay, so Xander's name wasn't on the target list because everyone was convinced that he was going to play it for himself. You know, he was in a unique position though, where he had the absolute last idol, the last chance of safety. Would it have been smarter or strategic or more strategic for him to play it for someone else to save someone else in the game? I don't.
As long as it's not Ricard, yes.
Like who could he have saved? Do you think Heather? Like
they were never going to vote for Heather. To vote out Heather, it would have had to have been Deshaun and Erica, and I think that if he had saved, I feel like if he had saved Deshaun, I don't know. I feel like no matter who he played it on, he probably still loses at the end.
He had some power, and I think that's the hard thing. Is I feel like the thing that breaks my heart with Deshaun or with Xander is that like Xander had so many opportunities and he came upon so many opportunities and so many advantages that I just like wish that like he played it with a little bit more like strategy in order to assure that it wasn't just him considering himself, but him considering everyone else around him.
Yeah. Well, no, it was strategy. He's the greatest strategic player of all time, according to I've been really I've been really pissed with these people the last few days.
Honestly, though, like I would like to see him come back because I can see like Lord of Laziness. I see that you commented a little bit ago that you would like Xander or Deshaun to come back, which is great. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that if Xander comes back, he ages a little bit. Maybe he studies the game a little more. He understands his place and his assets in the game. Takes a little bit maybe from Erica's strategy of flying a little bit more under the radar. I think he has a chance to win again between him and Ricard. You know, like those are like I think if we brought them back. Once he gets a little bit older and understands that social awareness, that it just comes with age. You don't just get that when you're young, you know. Yeah. I think he has a chance. I think
at the beginning of the season, people were calling him strategic Fabio, and I do think that is fairly accurate. I love both Xander and Fabio, but
right.
I think that yes, and I say the same thing about Fabio. Like if Fabio were to ever come back, he won't. But if Fabio were to ever come back, I feel like he would play a more strategic game, and you know he's already won, so whatever. But I do feel like we would get a different version of Fabio if he were to ever come back, and I do agree with you that if we got Xander back eventually, we would get a different version of him. Now, what I'm hoping is whenever they do another returning season, we have Cirie and him, and Cirie beats him at the end, and I dare these fans to say this guy was robbed under Cirie at that point. I'll lose my mind. I might actually make a Reddit.
Like I'm the way that she went out the last time. Like I don't think that she's ever going to come back. Like everyone did like the slow clap. She got her torch snuffed by Jeff. It was beautiful. It was a whole moment.
It was a great way. Yeah, it was a great way to go out. And I honestly don't think that many of those old players will ever come back.
I have something to say. I just remembered. It's very important. Did you see today that Sandra's coming to Australian Survivor with her daughter?
Yes, okay, I saw the trailer. I'm very excited, especially now that they're on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't know if we'll be able to watch it live. I hope so because I love Sandra.
Yeah. She's the queen. I mean, we all know that. That's her name. But like. I just want to see how she trained her daughter. Like, you know what I mean? Like how she raised her daughter and taught her how to like be like her new queen. Ooh, new one.
Yeah. If let's say I ever got casted for like a season where it's like, oh yeah, it's all of you and Cirie, I would throw my game away and take the $100,000 just to let Cirie win. So
I would just say, homie, like, let me know where you need me. Like, I'm here for you.
Yes,
you know?
I need you to win.
Let's get you to the end, girl.
America needs you to win.
That's how I feel about Sandra too. I hope that she makes it to the end.
I hope that she does better than Russell Hantz at Australian Survivor, which means
I didn't watch that one.
She has to make the first vote. Russell got voted up first.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Me too. So Sandra just needs to get through one vote and she's better. Like, she's always been better, but
yeah, always.
But to wrap things up, First of all, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm having the best time of my life.
It's been a great time. And things that are coming up. So this week, I do plan on doing an actual more recap. Tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow. It's probably tomorrow. And then I'm going to bring back the A Win is a Win segment that I did over the summer. Just because already we have Erica haters. So I want to just nip this in the bud now and say, hey, a win's a win, and this is why Erica's win is just as valuable as all these other people. So that's coming this week as well. After this week, we're officially in the off season. We'll be doing Survivor season recaps. Every now and then I'll do like character recaps. So we might do one on, I don't know, Cirie. But Emily will be back in a couple weeks, and we're going to go over All Stars because she loves it for some reason.
I love it so much.
I might spend Christmas morning and afternoon and night watching Survivor All Stars. Prepare for that. Am I excited to watch it? Sure.
You will be excited.
I get Sesternino for 3 episodes, and then he goes away, which sucks because he's like my idol. And once he leaves, then we have the Jenna thing and the Sue thing, and then it just gets really dark.
It's problematic, but it's still entertaining for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I actually do love Boston Rob's confessionals that season, but I'm interested to see how I take it this time, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. Talk to you.
Yeah.
You.
I'm gonna sell it so hard. You're gonna be so obsessed. I promise.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it as always. Thank you all for tuning in this season. I know there was a long off season. There was a lot of filler that I had over the summer and spring, but I'm glad you guys stuck with us. Thank you for supporting the channel, and we will see y'all on the other side.